Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to look at character customization and some of what we're going to be getting in the near future, the first iterations, a lot of the customization stuff, and to some extent what it's going to evolve into when it gets a lot more fleshed out. Faces. Let's talk about heads and faces first, starting with levels of fidelity to give you some background. We have seen some examples of faces from Star Citizen and the various tiers of quality that they've got planned. 0 being the highest, reserved for Squadron 42 important characters like Mark Hamill and Gary Oldman, and is around 40,000 polygons, with added skin and muscle layers and lots of cool stuff going on there, lots of shader stuff. 3 is the lowest tier and might be used for like the face of a dancer in a club in the persistent universe, and comes in at around 10,000 polys. Even the tier 3 characters are still pretty damn impressive, and you would have to go up relatively close to see the differences really. It's expected that player faces will be around the tier 2 mark. For example, the character from Pupil to Planet was a tier 2 face, and again in the CitizenCon demo, the face of the same character that was from Pupil to Planet, tier 2 face there. The facial customization that we get our hands on will use both a mixture of presets and editable vertex points. You're going to start with a preset head that you like. You'll choose from a big selection of heads, and then choose to edit the face, hair colour, hairstyle, eye colour, skin colour. And then you can also mix and match from a combination of other heads and features and be able to edit these features as well. You're going to be able to make some alterations to the physical shape of the head too. These heads and features are, for the most part, scanned in from real people and actors. The hero characters like Mark Hamill will not have their features and heads available for players to use for customization. That is something that they want to keep the sovereignty for Squadron 42, and they don't want everyone running around looking at like Mark Hamill's character. But their Frankenstein system should allow you to make pretty much anything that you want and then edit stuff into what you want it to look like. And you should be able to make something similar to yourself if you wanted an approximation of yourself in-game. They are also working on customizations and accessories like goggles, facewear, piercings. You're going to be able to have earrings, nose piercings, and purchase various goggles, glasses, bandanas, and lots of other random stuff that you can stick around your face. They're going to have tattoos too. Some of these will be purchasable and available from vendors and shops in-game. Others may be available on the character customization screen, for example. Hair. So hair's going to be fairly customizable, but not freeform with your character customization stuff. So you're going to be able to choose from a large range of styles and change their colour, but you're not going to be able to alter the shape of each individual style. So you can basically just chuck on a hairstyle into any head that you've made. You can put hats on and stuff like that, obviously. They're currently working at getting 30 different styles of hair for customization. This should hopefully expand outwards for more in the future. There will be facial hair at some point for customization as well. They're working on it for Squadron 42 currently, getting it to as high fidelity level as possible before putting it into their customization system. Clothing. So cosmetic clothing will constantly be being added to Star Citizen and is one of the simplest ways to customize your character, and the only way that we can do it really in 2.6 and current versions of Star Citizen. T-shirts, jackets, trousers, footwear, hats. This catalogue will expand out further over time for various styles, and the idea with these kind of cosmetic clothing is when you're not in combat, when you're just chilling out on a planet, you're supposed to wear these because you don't need to wear any armour, you don't need to be running around in a flight suit. There are sets and lines of clothing being created for individual purposes or feels, looks and feels for certain areas, and NPCs will wear these clothing in certain areas to give them more of a feel. So when you see NPCs at Grimhex or Outlaw areas, you're much more likely to see the Outlaw clothing sets that we've got already, whereas in Terra, there's the Terra white collar range, what you might see people running around with if they're high-powered executives or lawyers and that sort of stuff. Go into a hospital, there's going to be a huge range of hospital-esque clothing for doctors and nurses and that sort of stuff. They are also looking at various types of cloth physics, capes, lots and lots more clothes. We've seen with the Sand Nomads some of the cool stuff they've done with cloth physics. Clothing is planned to be layered as well, and this is quite important because if you get shot, different, like a laser, might have different effects based on the different layers of clothing and underclothing and armour that you all have on. And it all kind of matters, and these layers aren't overwritten by the layers of clothing you've got above it. So if you're wearing a coat or something that covers up most of your clothing, it's not going to delete the clothing underneath it. That still is there. You should be able to technically tell it's still there, whether that's visible from an extra layer or that you can see like the red sleeves of your red shirt underneath or whatever. But the idea is that clothes persists there, even if it is being covered up. Even clothing is part of the Item 2.0 system. They may have different pockets and storage options, as well as other functionality as well. And there are going to be a wide range of brands and outlet stores for clothing, and pretty much everything else we've talked about, whether it be hairstyles, whether it be piercings, whatever. So this can be large outlets like Kasaba Outlet, to small stall vendors like in flea markets, to very high-class suit manufacturers on certain planets. Functional and armour based like clothing and aesthetics and things. So some clothing might have a bit more function. Space and flight suits will allow you to breathe in the vacuum of space and have EVA equipment attached to you. Armour will allow you to take more damage or give you more protection for hazards. Now some of this clothing, some of this armour might be available in different colours. You might be able to spray it different colours. We're not entirely sure how customization of like decals and stuff is going to work. Like they may very well have various decals for your orgs even, or various decals you can purchase in the game to paste on your clothes, on patches and that sort of stuff. And hopefully they will. It will be based on whether they can get that into the persistent universe, persistent universe is the main thing you'd want that in, without it causing massive server errors or explosions or lots of data to be streamed, that sort of stuff. Armour will be very modular, and armour will have various different stats and suitabilities, allowing you to have light armour on your legs and heavy armour on your chest. The plan is to have very customisable choices on what to wear, but also some players will wear them for aesthetic reasons. Now, you're also going to be able to wear different clothing and stuff for hazard protection and that sort of stuff. Although that's not really like aesthetic customization, it is important for choices, and there will be a wide variety of armors that do very similar things, but just have different cosmetic looks. Damage, scars, bionics, and lots of other stuff. So your character is going to get injuries along their career. You may have limbs replaced or bionics, like have your arm cut off and have a bionic there, or be Luke Skywalker and have a bionic hand or whatever, or scars and burns and that sort of stuff. In some situations, you may want to have these on your character without getting injured first. So, there's been talk about whether certain like injuries and losing limbs and stuff might give you advantages or disadvantages for reputation, NPCs talking to you differently. If you've got a giant scar on your face, they might go, "Oh, how'd you get that scar?" But having bionic legs might give you the ability to run faster. We don't actually know what that's going to be implemented, how that's going to be implemented. We're going to have to wait and see. Those mechanics are still being fleshed out. Whether or not you're going to be able to run a load faster because you've got bionic legs, whether or not it's just going to be an aesthetic change, or whether or not it's going to be some form of balance where EMP grenades will affect you and turning off your limb effectively, briefly, or that sort of stuff. We don't entirely know, but we do know that there is going to be bionics, we do know there is going to be scars, and we do know there's going to be attrition, effectively, to your character based on death. Not so much customization, but it is an aesthetic change. And they have even talked about getting older. Your characters may age. If you have a character for 10 years or so, that character may look physically different. They haven't entirely fleshed out those mechanics yet, obviously. That's something they will get in if they can in the future. I like the idea, if it's doable. Female models. So, there is no ETA currently on getting the female model into the game, but CIG continues to work on female animations alongside the new ones for males. We've seen various bits and pieces of female faces and heads and models and stuff like that already. So, we know they're relatively close, not entirely sure how close, hoping for 3.0 that we'd get female models. They are currently working on some variant animations for them, and some clothing, this is probably important to some people, most clothing is going to be built to be worn by everyone, but there are going to be certain items that are going to be restricted by gender. So just keep that in mind. You might not be able to wear everything as a man and not be able to wear everything as a woman. Obviously, that's part and parcel to the high fidelity of their clothing system, where they do want layers of clothing and they do want them to matter. It's very, very complex and a long process getting all that clothing in. Star Citizen seems to be staying away, at least at the moment, from allowing you to customise your height. This is partly due to the cinematic experience of Squadron 42, but also the physicalised nature of combat and damage in Star Citizen. It is much easier for there to be one height for all the models, or two heights if the male and the female model are slightly different sizes, as we have been told. I am very impressed with the facial quality of all this stuff. In game, it looks amazing even now, and that's pre-polish. When we have a bit more polish, this stuff is going to look absolutely fantastic. They're constantly working on optimization, and they have everything that we've seen so far working to a fashion without taking up huge amounts of memory and still retaining its fidelity. And as I said, the more polished that gets, the better it's going to look for us. We will be getting the female model at some point in the game. It is very important to a lot of players, and it should come in at a very high quality as well. I am hoping for 3.0, quite genuinely, that we'll have the female model there, as well as a lot of this character customization, or at least in its first iteration, or at least an ability to change our characters somewhat facially, to not all look like the same clone. I am very excited to get my hands on this character customization and all the options. We should be able to change a lot of our character at certain facilities too. So medical for scars and bionics, hairdressers for hair, piercing parlours, and the various varied clothes vendors. Tell me what you think of character customization. Do you care about it really? Or you're like, well, I care about gameplay, I don't really care about what the character looks like. How excited are you for the first iterations of this? Is it something that, yeah, this is going to be great, or do you want a bit more of these mechanics fleshed out before you start getting attached to your character? Obviously, there is permadeath in the system, so once you do die, because there's levels of death in the system, you do have effectively a certain amount of lives, and then eventually your character will die if you die too many times. So you would have to create a new tune. So people are going to be getting attached to their characters. People are going to be making characters that they get upset when die. Mortality is important in the game, and customization is a big part of that. But as I said, tell me what you think. Commenting on any of our videos during a given month gives you a chance to win a starship for Star Citizen for the month of January. That is an Avenger Titan. Please don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It really does help me. Tell me your thoughts on character customization. What are you looking to make? Are you going to make yourself in the game? Are you going to make the best version of yourself like in The Matrix? Are you going to be making something that looks nothing like you? Do you prefer to play female models rather than male models? My friend Zen always loves playing the female models rather than the male model. Myself, I whatever the armor looks better in is normally what I go for. Sometimes the female models look much better in armor, sometimes the male models, and that's how I kind of choose what class or what character I want to be. Tell me what you think. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the verse.